jako další vystoupí John Tsihlis z společnosti ProQuest, který aktuálně sídlí ve Švédsku. A příspěvek se jmenuje Early European Books, spolupráce na zajištění online přístupu do vzácných knih. Early European Books je vlastně takové pokračování předchozího titulu, který se jmenoval Early English Books Online. A je to takový Rolls-Royce mezi digitalizovanými knihami starými. Tady se v tomto případě jedná o tituly od roku 1450 nebo do roku 1700. Probíhá tento zdroj vzniká ve spolupráci s knihovnami v Evropě. Jako první byly digitalizovány sbírky dánské knihovny. Teďka probíhá další část v Itálii a myslím si, že víc vám k tomu řekne John sám. Okay. John, co je ten? Technika, to je jak ty katastrální mapy.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me in Czech? Okay, it's a little bit after 2:30 and I speak English with an Australian accent. Hello, translator in the little box in the back there. I'll try to keep it slow for you. My name is John Tsihlis. I'm the Regional Sales Director for ProQuest in North and Eastern Europe. I'm standing in today for our publisher of the Early European Books project, Matt Kibble, who couldn't be here today. And I'll try to walk you through my presentation about our approach to digital access, specialised digital projects that we are currently doing. So how many people here have been to Florence? And how many people here have been to the library in Florence? One. Did you manage to get past the big wooden doors, left at the first, down past the toilets, down into the cellar, into a dark, very, very well air-conditioned room? You didn't. Had you got that far, there'd be a little book in the corner there, with much light around it, security guard with a gun. That's Dante's Divine Collection. In fact, many researchers would love to get somewhere near that book, but can't. And that's a problem with a lot of rare books. So this presentation is very much about trying to bring some rare, very, very important research books into your library. And we're doing it in collaboration with some of the other national libraries. The handsome man in the picture is Cary Grant. No, it's not. It's Eugene Power. Eugene Power is an innovative individual, recently deceased, and the forming father of ProQuest. Now, some years before the Second World War started, Eugene was playing with the idea of creating a machine to replicate other documentation, with the intention of maybe going over to the UK and saving some of the rare and important materials they had in the British Library from the threat of war. So he jumped on a boat, went over to London, showed him a replica of a microfilm. They said, yeah, good, go home, and he did. Shortly after the bombs started falling, they called him up and he flew back over and started microfilming what became the Early English Books Online microfilm collection. And that is the origin of what then becomes, 60 years later, our early English Books Online digitised version. Now, it's a big long period between now and then. He worked with a set of catalogues, the Pollard Redgrave and the Wing catalogue at the time, to create one of the most ambitious collections available in the library today. A lot of the research libraries in the world have this collection, and researchers are very thankful for it. They don't need to go past that security guard in Florence, for example, to have a look at the book. The ambitious Early English Books Online collection is now being succeeded by our endeavours with our European project. The scope is larger, much larger. If you consider the fact that 345,000 books were available by the 1600s, and only 5 of those, or 4% of those, are in Igbo, which means that were printed in English or in England, then there's a lot missing. Can anyone hazard a guess how many books were available by the end of the 1700s or by the end of the 1600s? No one really knows. It's in the millions. And our task is to try to start putting that together. The map on the right-hand side shows the slow but gradual spread of publishing from the time of Gutenberg in the 1400s up until the end of the 1700s. And that is what we're trying to map today with the Early European Books Project. Back in those days, there weren't any borders that we recognise today. France and Germany and Spain did not exist as they were today. Intellectuals and scholars did move freely across Europe. So there are many challenges trying to identify what it is that we're looking for, and we're working with national libraries to achieve exactly that. So no single catalogue exists for the whole of Europe. Our partners, we've got 2 pilots complete, and we're working on a 3rd. We choose them by, well, I'm sure so they probably choose us as well. But what we're looking for is national libraries with significant collections that cover that period. The first 2 we started with was the Royal Library in Copenhagen. We launched that first collection in December 2009. And the second one, which has recently come out, is the Florence collection, which was launched in November 2010. Both collections have somewhat between 2,500 and 3,000 books, so they're quite large. Our next phase is even more ambitious. We are looking to digitise 4 million pages per year from 2012. It's a major effort. There's 50,000 more books in the Florence National Library. There's the Royal Library in the Netherlands, the Koninklijke Bibliotheek in The Hague, which has just come on board, and we are digitising at the moment. There's the Wellcome Library in London, has now been signed, and we include STM content in addition to its very valuable humanities content that I'm showing you. And there are many other digitalisation projects that we're collaborating with. We're also working with CERL, the Consortium of European Research Libraries, to include their thesaurus, so we can capture variant spelling in the search and make the researcher's life somewhat easier. So what's the model? Okay. National libraries have a mandate to digitise what is in their vault, and this is happening in many places around Europe. So for a national library, it makes sense to have someone like us work with them to freely digitise their materials and give access to their public. And that's what's happening in the places you've just seen. So the way it works is we fund the creation of the digital files and the metadata, and we in return that master copy to the library. That material is available for access in the country where the collection is held. So that means every Italian, every Dane has access to their collections that we've digitised at the moment. It's brilliant. We work very closely with scanning companies to decide where and when and how. Don't forget, these books are very, very old and fragile and are national treasures. So they don't want just anyone using them. And that's why they select us. We have a history of expertise in doing exactly that. Unlike the previous EBO, the Early English Books Online, where we actually digitised from microfilm, we're not doing that this time around. We're scanning direct from the original in colour. It includes everything. So not only the content of the book, but the spines and everything else that is of interest in the book, including its own structure. There is a lot of information we add. A database is as good as the index and the metadata in it. And we are collating as much information to make searching a little bit better. So the metadata is vital for us as well. We've also put around it a very specialised interface to make sure that they find what they're looking for. A little bit more about our approach. Our approach is a lot slower. Google does books in mass. They mass digitise. Now, there isn't a national librarian with their head screwed on properly who'd let someone doing mass digitization near their national treasures. So we try to do things like 90 degrees where you can't open the book any further than that without damaging it. We try to make sure that the books actually fold out and use different scanners to actually obtain as much scan material as possible. As an example of a spine, they can even zoom in to find as much detail as possible. That is a book block, I think it's called. Any book historians in the room? Thank God. I won't be corrected. But that's how pretty they are. There's gold book bindings and many other things of interest in there. They are clasps. A lot of books were tied down in that fashion. We even have, you can actually search for clasps in the early European books database. Handwriting. Whose handwriting is on the right-hand side there when reading Euclid's book on geometry, Jacob? That's Galileo Galilei's handwriting when he was taking notes before he went out and designed all those fantastic things. They are included in the search. You can search for handwriting of the original author in the actual search. On the left-hand side is a letter to the King of Denmark, the exiled King Christian II, who the Pope wanted to kill for bringing up Protestantism to Denmark. And that's a letter thanking them. That's a large fold-out. That's A3 size. That comes out of a fairly large Krieg book, a book of war. You'll see there's illustrations that go vertical and horizontal. It's colourful. It's hard to read. Most scanned items like that, they miss that. They jump over it. They'd rather not do it. We include them. We include tools so you can actually rotate and pan in and zoom and be able to read everything within there. So your researcher is getting as close to the book that he physically can without actually holding it. Our first pilot, as I said, was Copenhagen, and we released it in 2009. It includes a lot of books on science, strangely enough. A lot of these old books are considered humanities. It's not necessarily the case. Astronomy and every other science starts somewhere. And in this instance, it's a place like Denmark. So books like by astronomers like Tycho Brahe and Johannes Kepler are included in that collection. There's some highlights, I won't go into detail. The second pilot that we published, the one out of Florence, includes some of the largest names in the Italian Renaissance. Dante, Galileo Galilei, Boccaccio's The Cameron is in there, and many, many other books that cover the early Italian Renaissance. This is an ambitious project as well. Recently, the Royal Library in The Hague has signed on 28,500 books. It's the largest collection of Dutch incunabula. It sounds like an Aboriginal word. It's not. Available. There's song books, there's cookbooks, you name it, they're all in that collection as well. So there is a lot to it. The most recent collection is the Wellcome Library, 15,500 books from within STM, also included. Very exciting? We think so. A little bit more about the fact that science and culture do mix. Okay, so a little bit about the interface. Behind this valuable, rare content sits a smart and easy to use interface. Now, we have specialized search functionality. Oops. We have browse lists. So you can actually select from a browse list, which is standardized names of places and authors and whatnot. There's also more specialised search fields, as in bibliographic number, for example, so a researcher can find specific editions they're looking for. There could be one or more editions of the same book. Page features there. They can look for the likes of printed marginalia, for example, illustrations, charts, coats of arms, music, notation. So there is a lot in there, in the imagery, that they can actually search for specifically. Shelf mark is also a popular way of looking for specific books. We do filter. The result set is very specialised as well and easy to navigate. They can filter results on the right hand side there. Here is Tycho Brahe's book on astronomy, including variant spellings, you'll notice there. In this example, we're actually trying to drill down on charts, I believe. Yes. And the full record includes not only our own data, but also things like the Library of Congress's standard for places and other bits and pieces there. So it's a full record. The thumbnail there is the cover of the book. If you click on it, you arrive at a chart of thumbnails. That is all the books. It includes blank pages, so all the pagination is there. We don't skip over the blanks. It's page 1 to the end. It also includes the spine, edges, and everything else that's included in the book. So there's nothing that's actually missed in the digitization of these books. If we actually drill down a little bit further to view thumbnails with charts, we get all the imagery of Tycho Brahe's books in this instance with images of charts. And a further click will open up that book to the actual image. And this is a book about a new star that Tycho found in the 1500s, and it's that letter I. So the researcher zooms in and finds it. They can also look at how big the book is by dragging a scale over the top of it. It gives them an indication of the scale of the product. This is an exciting addition to the product as well. We recently added the thesaurus from a consortium of European research libraries. Now, language does evolve. There are very, very different ways of spelling the same word. And this gives researchers a chance to be able to find all variations of the same search field. So we have 70,000 records included in there, in the database through this thesaurus, including authors' names, printer names, amongst others. So it enhances searchability, and people can actually include their own variations by sending it to sell. In this full record example, here you have the actual word Venice, but in the original imprint it's Venezia. If you click on that little box there, the variants from Search Thesaurus, you come to a variants list which they can then choose from. So you don't need to learn 20 different languages to find what you're looking for when you have tools like that around you as well. Here are a couple of quick responses from Lieber and from a well-known author of a library journal about their first response to our Early European Books project. The feeling in general is that this will benefit research and scholarship greatly, and it will bring the scholar to the books that they've been looking for. So our conclusion so far, it's a viable model to create a resource with huge benefit to scholars, students and beyond, to allow students and scholars to discover rare copies and make new connections. It's superior to mass digitization because it respects the unique characteristics of early modern works, and it gives an advantage for libraries and librarians of working with an experienced and trusted partner. And I'm not going to leave that 5 minutes because I'm finished.
Okay, thank you. Tak, máte někdo nějaký dotaz? Přichází dotazy v angličtině, odozva ještě menší. Pokud byste se někdo chtěl zeptat česky, já se to pokusím nějak přeložit.
Thank you. I would like to ask about the metadata standards that are you using. It's open information.
I'd like to have an answer for that. Jane, do you have an indication of? No, unfortunately, I can't answer the question, but we can get the answer for you. On the sales first.
Tak špatná otázka, další otázka.
Okay. But if you make yourself known to me after the presentation, I'd love to see that.
Dobře, tak ještě nějakou otázku, na kterou bychom znali odpověď, to je vždycky příjemnější. Dobře. Pokud budete mít zájem si věci vyzkoušet, tak nám dejte vědět, my vám zařídíme nějakou formu zkušebního přístupu. Já musím říct, že to je naprosto úžasná věc, já jsem u toho strávil docela dlouhý čas, jenom tím, že jsem si to prohlížel a víceméně jsem se s tím hrál a opravdu můžu jenom doporučit, je to i čistě pro oko je to moc hezké. Thank you.